Home automation. You're probably wondering why that happened. Well, home automation is a sticky hairball. It's clunky, it's fragmented, there's a billion different devices and protocols and controllers out there, and it's totally cool. And it's quite a malapopism. In fact, this would be the third time I've done this. First time I did this was an old protocol called X10 way back in 2005. So, yeah, I guess there's been a little prototyping going on. So, what is it? Okay, for all you propeller heads out there, don't give anything away. Home automation is the ability to control devices in your home and have them respond to rules. Plain and simple. Things as simple as turning lights on and off. Or things as complex as closing the garage door if it's open and nobody's been in it for 10 minutes. Yeah, I know in the garage door video I said I didn't want to have a web interface. It doesn't have a web interface. The home automation system has a web interface. And I secure the heck out of that. So I didn't go back on myself, so don't call me on that one. So why would I want to do this? Well, it all began with me wanting to control some lights in my apartment a long time ago. Having them turn on and off randomly as if somebody was home because I did a lot of traveling. Later, when I had a couple cats and I had an automatic litter box that would empty itself 10 minutes after the cat would enter the litter box. It broke, but I found a way to get it to run with a home automation system. Now there's a funny story here. When I was getting the litter box to work, I was also working on that closing the garage door thing I was telling you about. This is a long time ago. This is 15 years ago. I was in the middle of putting it together in the home automation system. And I guess I did something wrong because when the cat went into the litter box, the garage door opened. So I kind of screwed that one up. I got better at it since. But, it's one of those little things. Yeah, you're hacking your house when you do this. So you gotta test the stuff because you don't want to have strange things like the garage door opening when the cat does its business. This is one of those funny things. Anyway, it later turned into a cost savings measure because I was still doing a lot of traveling, and sometimes I'd come back from a week and I would have had the AC on the whole week. And I'd be like, there's 50 bucks right there. So wouldn't it be great if I could put in some kind of a program that when I was away, it would turn off all the lights, turn off the AC, or at least bring it down to a point where it's not running all week, or turning up the heat or turning down the heat, so it's at such a way that I'm not wasting any energy while I'm away. And that worked very well. The trick was trying to get it to figure out when I was away. That's a story for another day. So in a more of a general sense, you can use home automation to do some pretty neat things, like setting the right lighting. If you have dimmers, you can set a particular kind of mood light. Again, cost savings, or you don't want to have things that are too bright. You can also set up a scene and start playing some music, bring the lights down and no, it wasn't very white, stop it. You could also bring down the lights slowly like a movie theater when it's time to watch a movie. You can have it turn the TV on, turn the TV off. You can secure the house at bedtime. You could have the turn on the porch light at sunset, and sunset changes every day, remember that. And you can also make it look like somebody's home, occupancy, like turning on and off lights relatively randomly, or turning a TV on. And nobody tells a thief that you're home if the TV is on, right? Just a little idea there. A few caveats. There are a number of choices. There always have been a number of choices with running home automation systems. And I'm going to touch upon a few reasons as to why I use the systems that I do. But I'm not going to go too deep because I don't want to start a religious conversation. Mac versus PC, Android versus iOS, Canon versus Nikon, Chevy versus Ford, Alexa versus Google versus Siri, toilet paper over or under, that kind of stuff. So if you want to have a religious conversation, go right ahead. That's not the point here. I'm just trying to tell you something that works for me, and it's very tested. I've been running this system for almost 15 years now, or at least some iteration of it. So the automation I'm going to discuss today, it runs from a central live server, an actual computer that is the central, it runs central server software. That software is called Indigo by Indigo Domo. The neat thing about it is it can use a protocol, it's multiple protocols. You can run Insteon, Z-Wave, and even the classic X10. And I didn't build this with any of the big names as the core. Yeah, I use Siri as sort of icing on the cake if I want to do voice control, but it'll still work without Siri. Indigo is capable of very sophisticated reaction and management, a very sophisticated rules making, and since it can use Insteon, Z-Wave, or X10, it can use those items independent of Alexa, Google Play, or HomeKit, Siri HomeKit. However, you can interface using plugins and really extend the features of Indigo out. You can. There's a very vibrant plugin community out there, and one of those plugins allows it to talk to HomeKit, and allows HomeKit to talk to it. So, as a result, I get to use switches and sensors and items that Siri was never made for. And there's another reason why I don't want to go with one of the big guys or one of the new ones as the core system is I don't want to be subject to privacy issues. I don't want to have technology lock-in, and I don't want to be subject to the whims of one of these technology companies. Perhaps you heard that Google's shutting down the Works with Nest program in a couple of months. That's going to force me to get a new thermostat, because the Nest that I've got right now, I won't be able to control with home automation except for Google's own system. I'm not going to do that. Indigo is the core system that I use. So let me describe to you how this works. Indigo controls the switches, the sensors, and everything Insteon. It has a clock, it knows where it is geographically, so it can adjust sunset and sunrise times. It can control iTunes, so I can have music throughout the house that is not subject to HomeKit or a HomePod speaker. I can have it play Pandora. And it talks to these sensors. Now, Insteon is the protocol that I use. I don't use Z-Wave, and I've gotten rid of X10. X10 is not that reliable, because if the device is too far away from the controller, it can't hear, it becomes unreliable. Insteon doesn't have this problem. Insteon is sort of an evolution from X10. Insteon is a mesh network. Now, let me show you one of those devices. Okay, so here is a set of switches. One is an on-off switch, and the other one is a dimmer. Notice that it has these level LEDs. They describe exactly how on or how off it is. Now, an on-off switch is either on or off. This one, being a dimmer, it goes up or down. Now, these guys are a mesh network, so they can talk to every other switch in the place. So it's possible to, well, let's say, maybe you have a set of lights that have 3 switches for them. Some of the switches are up, some of the switches are down. You flip one of those 3 switches, the light turns on. You know, a 2-way or a 3-way or a 4-way switch. These make it easy because you can actually have only one being the load and the others being controlled by it. So because these are paddles, it doesn't matter which is up or down. Up is on, down is off. Very easy. These communicate 2 ways. They call them dual band. They communicate through little radios, little proprietary little radios in there. But they also talk through the power circuits themselves, through the actual wiring of the house. So very reliable, very scalable. These also have a neat feature called ramp fade. This one turns on at a certain speed, turns off at a certain speed. You can have switches go as short as, a tenth of a second, or as long as 8 minutes, if you so desire. And you can set that through either the switch themselves, or as my preference, Indigo can control all of that. So what happens is every device is hardwired. Well, the ones that I have. You can get plug-in ones too. The devices have a unique address assigned to them. And when the controller, and it could be the server or it could be another switch, sends out a signal, it repeats what it heard, sort of like a crew on a submarine. Repeat back what they heard. So if a controller says, turn on that switch, every switch that hears that signal says, hey, back door, you've been told to turn on, until it gets to the back door, and the back door says, hey, wait, that's me, I'll turn on. And then it reports back that I'm on, and everybody repeats it back to the controller. So you have that two-way communication, very reliable. Because of that, and because of all the protocols and plugins, it's very scalable. You don't have to buy this huge piece and all this stuff all at once. You can buy a switch at a time, a plug-in at a time, and whatever. And Insteon has a whole bevy of things like dimmers and on-off switches and appliance plugins, dimmer plugins, flood sensors, motion sensors, rain sensors. Another use, if you have sprinklers for your lawn and you have it wanting to set off at 5 in the morning. That's the best time to do it, is right before dawn, right? You don't want to get fried by the sun. But what if it just rained? You don't want to water your lawn again, do you? So you can tell Insteon, or you can tell Indigo and have the right sensors and pieces in place that water my lawn every day at 5 unless it rained this much last night. So it won't do it for you. Again, power, water, savings, and you're not just throwing water on wet grass already. So let me sum up a little bit. No, I haven't been able to show you anything sexy, no wires, no locks plunging into place, because in my humble opinion, that is the nature of what I'm trying to do here. It should be as invisible as the air conditioning. It should enhance the life and the house that I have without taking anything away. There are guests that we can have that don't need to know or care that we have a home automation system. So they push switches like they would normally, and it reacts like they would expect. So the system only enhances what I've already got, doesn't take away from anything that would normally exist. How do you get started? Well, get a computer, get Indigo, because of its flexibility and its ability to run on OS X, which is Unix, POSIX Unix. It's designed to be on all the time. I don't have to worry about viruses or anything like that. Get an interface from a smart home, an Insteon interface. It connects to the computer with a USB cable, and then start adding your devices. And in Indigo, it will start to recognize, okay, I see that sensor, I see that switch, I see that whatever device you've got. And then you can start doing trigger events. Those are reacting to certain rules and behaviors. Scheduling events. You can bind several things together and have them be done something called a control group. Trigger events can also be smart enough to only go when certain conditions are met. For example, don't turn that light on when it's a Tuesday and it's raining. Or you can tie it to the weather service to see, to have it react to certain conditions, even during times of day and items like that. You can even create web interfaces that you can use on your phone. This is an Indigo touch application that I've got on my phone here. This particular interface I built has to do with controlling the thermostat. That'll become useless in August. I'll have to get a new thermostat and plug that into this. So you can start simple and then get really complex if you want. You've got enormous scalability and flexibility with this. You don't have to have a degree to get started. Teach yourself, scale, go forth and conquer.